I found this vanity on Facebook Marketplace for just $80, so let's flip it and see what we can get for a profit. Hey everybody, welcome back to Furniture Flipping Teacher. I'm Lauren, and in today's video, we are going to flip this vanity. It has been a very, very long time since I have flipped a vanity, and the last time I flipped a vanity, I actually turned it into 2 nightstands. This one, don't worry, I am keeping as a vanity. I know some people have a problem when people chop vanities in half. Realistically, I do think that chopped vanities are a bit more usable in today's day and age, but I also do feel like sometimes people are in need of a true old antique vanity. This one, I have no clue any of the details about it other than that I got it from Facebook Marketplace for just $80. It is in a really good condition for it being an antique. There is really no true damage to it. All of the veneer seems to be intact, which is really, really good because that means that I don't have to go in and do many repairs. But I've got a couple of ideas up my sleeve that we are going to use to transform this piece. So first things first, let's disassemble it all and get to cleaning. Mirror is off, and I am really pleased with the integrity and the shape that mirror is in, because with this old of a piece, you never know what you're gonna get with the mirror because mirrors are very breakable. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this original hardware. I think I'm gonna be reinstalling it, but it kind of just depends on the direction that I go. I have a gist of an idea of what I wanna do with this piece, but things change. Sometimes we gotta pivot. So I'm gonna set it aside and keep it, and then we'll see if I do new hardware or if I put this back on. I went ahead and flipped it over so that I can take the wheels off down here, and that way I can work on the actual piece of it without getting anything on the wheels, and then we'll clean these up and then put them back on once the whole piece is finished up. Usually I clean my pieces at the very beginning after I have disassembled it, taken all the hardware off, but this time I am gonna be stripping some of the finish off of this piece. So I'm gonna wait to clean since the stripper kind of is a cleaner. I'll still need to clean after, but I'm not gonna clean and then strip because I'm just gonna be taking all of that away anyway. So I'm gonna be using Green Easy's stripper, and this is a more eco-friendly option, but it still works really well. You don't need to wear a mask. There are no harsh or caustic chemicals in this. So I already poured a little bit into one of my cottage cheese containers, and I'm just gonna take a chip brush and apply it to the feet of the front 4 feet, because I think it would be really pretty to have these be a little bit of a lighter wood tone, and I want to see what's underneath this original finish. So I'm just going to apply a liberal amount on here, let this sit on here for at least an hour or 2, and then we'll come back and see what it has removed and what we're working with after that. I'm gonna make sure to cover all of the spots on these. I'm not typically one that loves to use a furniture stripper, but with these legs, I think this is gonna be a lot easier to at least get the finish off, and then I can do some hand sanding since these are very curvy and rounded. I didn't wanna just go in with a sander. Although I do have my foam abrasives with my surf prep, this is just going to cut back a lot of that time, at least working time. So not only am I gonna strip the legs in the front, I'm also going to strip the top here. You noticed that I put the plastic wrap on the legs. That's just to make sure that the stripper doesn't dry out. Typically that one is pretty good about not drying out, but it is a little bit on the warmer side in my shop today, so I just wanted to take the precaution, wrap it up. It doesn't hurt anything, but it's just gonna potentially help it get that finish off of there quicker. So let's do the top as well. Okay, let's see what we're working with. It's been probably about 2 hours now. I'm just gonna start to peel this back, see what we're working with. If it's not quite ready, then I'll leave it covered. But if it is, then we'll be able to get going. Oh yeah. Nice, okay. It's definitely ready. Now the one thing that you want to be careful with is if you're using a metal scraper, you want to be really careful and stay on the top layer so that you don't gouge the top. So we're gonna just kind of go nice and slow. So I've got as much of the goop that I could scraped off. So now I'm going to spray on the finishing cleaner. I don't really have the best method for this because this sprayer doesn't work well. So I'm just gonna pour it on. And then I'm gonna be using a steel wool to just continue to get the rest of the finish off and also clean up the extra stripper that has been left behind. This is what we're working with on the top. It got a majority of the finish off. There is a little bit left over here and there, but once this dries up, it'll be ready to sand, and this is going to be far easier and quicker to sand than it would be if I did not do the stripper. So next up, I am gonna be tackling the legs, and I'm gonna be taking off the plastic and seeing what we are working with underneath all of the finish. So full disclosure, it has been about a day that I have left these to kind of marinate. I had something come up, so I couldn't get to it as quick as I wanted to, but we're gonna see if that is okay. It should be, because I put this, plastic over it, so it shouldn't have dried out all the way, but I am going to be using the spray cleaner that comes with the Green Easy, and we're gonna spray it on there. So I'd say with some elbow grease, it may come off. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to apply a little bit more, let it sit on there for a little bit, and this will kind of help reactivate the stripper that I put on there the other day. That should help us out a little bit. So I'll do that on all 4 of the legs real quick. Then I'll just let it sit for about a half hour to an hour instead of 24 plus hours. Since I'm doing a two-tone look on the vanity itself, I'm kind of toying with a two-tone look on the mirror, but also I would be okay with not doing a two-tone look on the mirror, but just picking one of the shades and doing that on the mirror. But in order to do that, I do think that I'm going to need to try and take this apart. I don't want to make it worse. Like, I don't want to break it at all. So I need to be very careful. And so I'm going to flip it over and see what we're working with on the back. It looks like this backing is with pins or little tacks. But there is some screws up top here that I'm gonna unscrew and see what that does. I think it's holding on to this little applique at the top here, maybe. I don't know if I wanna take all of these tacks out because I don't know what that would do for me. Yeah, that came off there. Okay, let's just take them off and see, because it seems like it'd be pretty easy to get back on. Maybe there will be a date on the back of this mirror in order for us to see how old this thing is. I think a lot of the times the dates are on the backs of mirrors. Ooh, it does. Really quick, before I tell you, what year do you think this vanity is from? I'm actually surprised. So after taking the backing off, we've got a date, and it says July 1933, which makes it just about antique. Not quite, because antique, I believe, is 100 years, and obviously it's only 2025, but we're very close to being an antique, and it looks like it was made in Portsmouth, Arkansas at Porter Mirror and Glass Co. That's kind of some fun information. But otherwise, it's kind of looking like that was not anything that helped other than seeing the date, because these things are on there and this is in 3 sections. So I'm gonna need to put that backing back on, and then we'll flip it over and see if we can't get those pieces of mirror out on the other side. All right, I got the stripper off of the legs. So while those are drying, we're gonna go ahead and tackle the top here. It's completely dry, so I've got a little bit of finish still on here. And even though when you use stripper, it takes off a lot of the finish, you still need to finish with sanding, because you wanna make sure that it's all even and you still have quite a bit of material to get off, and it'll really help even out the coloration as well. So I've got a 120 grit here on my Surf Prep, and I'm just gonna go ahead and sand the top portion now, the flat part, and then I'll switch out for a foam abrasive and get into the little lip here and the more detailed part. All right, I got the first layer off fully, but it is looking very, very, very blotchy. So I'm hoping that another round of sanding will help, although it's just pretty thin veneer, so I'm kind of nervous to go any lower, especially on these edges over here. I don't know, I think, although it is very thin veneer, it may be just, I know it's solid wood under the veneer, I just don't know if it's good wood or not. So, I don't know, with these old pieces, I mean, from 1933, they were constructed very differently than they are constructed nowadays, of course, but then even on the pieces that I normally work on. So, I don't really know what to do. I think I did the right thing by stripping first, but think I'm just gonna go ahead and sand some more because this is not gonna cut it, obviously. So see what another round of sanding does. I'm going to also pull out my orbital sander to see if that will be a little bit more strong to help me get this smoothed out. Got the finished top here. Everything seemed to even out fairly well. So that's ready. And then also the legs are all finished. I know they look a little bit crazy, but with all of the curvature and things, it's just very difficult to get into the corners and crevices without sacrificing the look of the overall foot, the turned legs. So what I'm gonna do is just use that as kind of some more color to create some depth. So when I stain over these with some lighter stain, that'll still show through a little bit, but everything should even out pretty well once I get that stain on, which is the next step. I really don't want to admit how long it took me to sand both the top and the legs of this, but I'm gonna tell you because I'm transparent. It took like 8 or 9 hours, maybe even 10. So not a job for the faint of heart if you are trying to strip very old finish that has a lot of curvature. The top alone took me 6 hours, and the legs just today, I've been working on them for at least 3, and then I spent another hour before that with the stripper. So I'm glad that that's over, but we are going to go ahead and do a stain on the top. I'm gonna be using the Lily Moon's Smoky Gel Stain in the Reclaimed Wood color. So it's like a lighter color, but it's going to at least give a little bit of coloration on the top and the legs to kind of even everything out. Due to the wood being so old, which actually I did figure out this isn't a veneer, this was a solid piece of wood, which I was really happy with because obviously I had to sand quite a bit in some areas. For a second I thought it was veneer, but it wasn't, so that was good. But anyway, with the wood being so old, I don't even know what type of wood this is, but it just has a lot of different colors going throughout it, and so staining it should help just bring everything kind of to one consistent, you know, there may be some darker patches and things, but at least it's all intentional. So I'm going to spray the top with some water, like always, whenever I'm doing a paint wash or using water-based stain, which this is, you'll see me mist. And this is kind of like a conditioner for the wood using water-based products instead of oil-based products. You would use a pre-conditioner, a pre-stain, same concept. So I'm just going to get this on there. Sometimes these containers will clog up a little, so you just have to kind of open them up and pour your own out on there. And then I've got a zebra brush that I'm going to be using, my rounded zebra brush, and we're just going to brush all of this on kind of quickly so it doesn't start to dry. But we're going to spread it over the entire top here. Now that it's fully covered, I'm just gonna do kind of one last little swipe all the way across. We're going to take some shop towels and we're gonna wipe back the excess here. Okay, and now I'm gonna be doing the same process down below on the front feet. Originally, I had said that there was no damage that needed to be filled in, but farther I looked around, I did find one little piece of veneer that is peeled up already, and then this over here is kind of starting to peel. So I am gonna remedy this with some Bondo, and since it's peeling, I'm just gonna tear off the pieces that are peeling already, and then I'll be able to fix that with some Bondo. I don't think I need to glue anything down as long as I get all of the actual peeling stuff off so that it doesn't continue to peel. Sometimes a little knife can be helpful to just cut out the veneer as well. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we've just got a little chunk there. It's kind of a bigger size chunk. I'll probably have to do more than one round of Bondo because it's such a large area, but we will see. So Bondo is just a 2-part epoxy filler. I'm gonna be using the part that's in the can first, and then we'll add in the cream hardener, which pretty much right when that touches and comes in contact with this part that's in the can, it will begin to have a chemical reaction and start to harden up. So you kind of want to work pretty quickly. Within a minute or two, it'll start being unusable. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put some on there like so. Kind of want to make it above the veneer so that way when we sand it down, we can sand it down to that same level. All right, we'll let that harden up there for a little while until it's hardened, but in the meantime, I like to do some other things. So I'm gonna be wrapping up the legs and the top so that we can get ready for the primer and the paint on the body of the piece. I'm still waiting on that Bondo to harden. So after I got the top and the legs all wrapped up, I figured I might as well start to continue on with my next steps, which is to start scuff sanding and getting ready for the primer and paint. So that means that I'm gonna begin with the drawers. I'm gonna pull them out, scuff sand them, and then wrap them up because I don't want to get the paint and primer on the sides of the drawers, and I do want to spray them separately. So I'm gonna go ahead and scuff sand them. I've just got a foam abrasive. I don't want to go too crazy on this old wood. So we're just going to lightly scuff sand so that everything is going to adhere really well. I actually am gonna go ahead and grab a 120 grit because I want to kind of clean up the sides a little. And I just feel like this portion where the dovetailing is could be cleaned up a bit. And so I'm gonna sand back this finish here so that when I am finished up with the paint job, this will be the same color as the rest of the drawers. Just kind of like a little bit of attention to detail. And honestly, I might well go ahead and get this whole side of the drawer as well. This drawer looks a lot better, and so I'll go ahead and take this off and then we'll get started on the rest of the 3 drawers. I have finally finished up with all of the scuff sanding and everything on this piece. So I'm gonna give it a really quick wipe down, making sure to get on the insides as well. So that way we are starting with a clean slate, and then I will be ready to start priming. So to start with the sprayer, I'm gonna put this Vanity upside down on my furniture movers so that I can really get the legs really well, and then the insides of the Vanity as well, like the part that's in the middle here. I just figured that that would be the easiest way without having to, you know, crunch down under and stuff. So I'm gonna get this set up. I don't really want a whole bunch of paint to go on the inside of this Vanity, and there are no bottoms to these. So I may grab like a piece of cardboard or something just to kind of block that off a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything perfect, but just to get a little bit less overspray going on in here. I think that that might be the move. So I've got my Bin Shellac Advanced, I guess it's not Bin Shellac. I've got my Bin Advanced in my sprayer, which is a water-based primer, and that is gonna help with adhesion, but it's also going to help with any bleed through in these areas that I went through the finish. It has potential to bleed through, which means that the tannins in the wood would come through and show through primer and paint, which is something that you do not want because it looks very bad, like there's stains through your paint. So in order to mitigate that, you want to use a stain blocking primer, plus of course you want your paint to adhere. So this does both. I'm going to go ahead and get this sprayed on. First coat, usually I do 2 coats of primer just for full coverage and to make sure that it's going to do its job correctly. I'm using the Wagner Flexio 5000 to get this job done. I pretty much just leave this primer in this spray gun at all times. Occasionally, every maybe 5 to 6 projects, I'll go ahead and rinse out and wash my spray gun, but other than that, it does a pretty good job of sitting in there. Maybe not for longevity, but it definitely does work for me. Round 1 of primer is all dry, so I am gonna take a really fine sponge sander and just sand out everything, and it's gonna just help with getting all of the debris or maybe any textured finishes that may have occurred during the drying process, and then we'll go ahead and do a coat 2. All right, now that we are all smoothed out, I'm gonna do coat 2 of primer and let that dry again. All right, it's time for the paint. I have chosen a really pretty color called Magnolia Garden from Lily Moon Paint, and it's like a sage green. It has some grayish undertones. I think it's gonna be a really great pair with the stain that I did on the top and the legs. I also went ahead and decided to just go ahead and paint the mirror out, the frame of the mirror, and that way it's all kind of a seamless one color except for the top and the legs. I think that that's gonna be the best route. So I primed it when I did the second coat of primer, and now we're ready to get that paint on. I did do the quick sanding just like I did between primer coats, so we're ready to get coat 1 of paint on. See how this is gonna come together. So originally I had said that I was gonna do the mirror all one color, which I am with the framing of it, but I thought that these little beads that are on the mirror would be better left wood, but I want to match it to the wood top and the legs. So this is what it looks like now. It's kind of the color that the whole rest of the vanity was. And I am just gonna be using some paint. I'm gonna be using some Fusion Mineral Paints Algonquin. And this is gonna be super close match to the stain that I did, but I don't wanna use the stain on this because the dark will still show through. And I want it to be like fully covered, still mimicking the wood look, but being the same tone because I need to use paint. And sanding this stuff down to stain it would not be very easy, and I don't want to risk breaking it or anything like that. So we're gonna leave those to dry now, and we'll see if I need to do a second coat, but overall they're looking really good. We're almost ready to start reassembling everything. I've just got to check and see if we need a third coat or if we're good with 2 over there. And then if we're good with 2, I'll be able to start unwrapping everything and putting everything back together. Actually, wait, I need to do top coat. that's next. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off the plastic everywhere so that I can top coat the top and the body at the same time. I did not end up having to do a third coat, so that was really nice. I've got my Varathane satin polyurethane loaded up, or not polyurethane, polyacrylic loaded up into my spray gun here. So I'm gonna do a couple of coats of that for full protection, especially on the top. Because this is a makeup vanity, obviously it's going to be used and loved. At least that is the goal and the hope. So I wanna really protect the top as well as the rest of it too. It's time to start putting this baby back together. I'm so excited to get it all put together to see the final look. So first, what I'm gonna do is put the wheels on the bottom back on. I feel like this could go with or without putting the wheels back on. I did order replacement wheels, but they were way too large, and so I have some more on order because all of these that came on it don't match, and so I wanted them to be a cohesive look, but because those are on order and it's gonna take too long for them to get here, you know how it goes. I am just gonna throw these back on there for the time being, but then just remember that I am gonna be changing them out. But if you don't think that they need wheels, let me know down below in the comments. I feel like that just helps with the kind of antique look of this whole piece, but like I said, it could go without. So I'm gonna get these put back on real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, after over 12 hours of work on this piece, it is finally finished. And I have to say, I truly do love the results. Was it worth all of the time? I don't know, because I'm not sure how much I'm gonna be able to get out of this piece, but I'm glad that I saved it and that I brought it back into the modern time. This 1930s vanity is now looking like it belongs in 2025 with still a lot of character from the 1930s, which I'm so glad that I got to keep the wood on the top and the front legs, the original hardware, the mirror is still intact. All of those things really help keep it in the 1930s, but again, I modernized it so that it would really go with a modern home. I love the way that it turned out. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Are you still mad at me that I painted it? If you were mad in the, okay, I just saw a mouse. Whew, a mouse went through the shop. I'm gonna have to get that. Gonna get some traps. Anyway, back on task. Let's talk about the numbers of this piece. The numbers of this project didn't get too out of control, but maybe a little bit considering what I may be able to sell this for. So the vanity cost me $80 from Facebook Marketplace, and stripper, I spent about $10 worth of that container. Sandpaper and miscellaneous costs like tape, plastic, things like that, about $20 worth. Stain, $5. Primer, $10. Paint, $15. Top coat, $10, and then the new wheels that I have on order were $40 for the 8 of them. So that brings us to a total of $195. And honestly, in my market, I feel like a reasonable amount for this vanity would be like maybe $400. I feel like I spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into this flip that I really wish I could get something like $900 at minimum. But realistically in my market, I just don't know. I'm going to try and list it for maybe higher than 400, and then that'll be like my bottom dollar. But I also don't really love it when furniture sits, so we will see. I will definitely update you guys in a future video for when this vanity sells, but for right now, I'm thinking of listing it around maybe 600 on Facebook Marketplace. Let me know if you think that that is a reasonable cost. I am going to probably put in there that it is a 1933 antique, but again, there's no brands or anything like that, so is it really that special? I don't know. I'm really proud of the way that it turned out. I hope this inspired you to just flip furniture, or at least, you know, save stuff from the landfill, whether you want it for your own home or to sell it for a profit. I always say that, but there's so many different options out there. So do with that what you will, and I have links down below if you're interested in getting started with furniture flipping. There is a course, and it is on a 50% off flash summer sale for the end of summer. It's coming to a close, so that sale will be going away pretty soon here, so act now while you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.